Hi. What? It's been another. Oh my god, another month. That's crazy. Time is flying. You know, I'm almost at 500 movies. How crazy is that? Next month, I'm gonna be able to say I've watched another 500 goddamn movies. Isn't that just tremendous? I'm currently on. Let me scroll all the way down, not including multiple watches in the same year. 477 is what I'm currently up to, with 10 short films and about 15 rewatches. So I'm like basically at 500 anyway. Not exactly, but almost there. So let's look at what we went through while I can film before anyone gets home. Okay, let's start. Okay, so this is Noir-vember. I'm trying to do some. I was trying to aim for 13, but life doesn't find the way. Because Noir's not my type of genre. I don't mind them, they're great, but we'll see how it goes. So I started the month off with The Maltese Falcon. Watched the 4K with my dad. Why does it feel like it's the wrong film? No, it's the right film. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. It's a good film. I fell asleep. That's how you know it's good. I fell asleep for like the pivotal moment that they realized the Maltese Falcon was fake. Crazy. 4K looks great. I rewound and watched it. It's all good. I watched it with Dad because Dad and I like watching movies together, which is always a charming aspect to life. We're going to watch more of these Bogart films, but we just didn't get around to it. I watched Monster House on the 2nd because I was going to watch it for Halloween and just didn't get around to it. And I recently got the Blu-ray, and it turns out I actually watched this like 3 years ago. Time flies when you forget everything. Gave it 4 stars, love it. Childhood favorite. I remember watching this on my birthday when it came out, because it was like horror season when it came out. My birthday is horror season, and it was just like, great, I get to watch this in the movies. And it was just like, this house is fucking scary. It's good. On the 3rd, for the 70th anniversary of Godzilla, I double featured the 1954 original Godzilla with Godzilla -1, minus color. Oh my god, they had it as a double feature with the Astor. It was exactly the 70th anniversary on that day. It was like, the 3rd of November. And to make it even more fun, I introduced my girlfriend, who has never seen these two films, to both of them in one foul swoop. So, we went there for it was the new 4K restoration of Godzilla. This is the 3rd fucking time I've watched this movie this year. I've already seen this 4K version. I saw it back in August. So anyway, for a big monster Godzilla fest. But it was because I wanted to see Godzilla -1, and my partner happened to be free that day. So I was like, you know what? Let's just double feature it. Let's watch both of them. Who cares? She hasn't seen it. Let's do it. So she loved the first one. She loved the second one more. She thought that Godzilla was very goofy in the first one because of the effects and the look of it. Apparently a lot of the crowd did too, which I was not very much a fan of. So instead of standing up the top, we went down to the bottom for the second half, where Phil and Katie came by because they wanted to see -1 in minus color, because we hadn't seen it in minus color yet, because fuck Netflix. We do have the physical copy coming in, so good. And yeah, so that one Helene liked more because she liked the effects more, but she liked them both, which was great. And minus color, I did like. I think I prefer it with color. I know it's mostly a kind of almost sepia tone, muted colors kind of look, but I love just the atomic breath from Godzilla just really shines in color. It still looks great. The white values were really good. You had the coolness for the blue and stuff, so it still looked really nice. And just in the big cinema was like the best time to see it. It was like a $20 screening for both films, which is great. Maybe even less, like 18 or something. And then I went to Phil and Katie's place on the way home because I was dropping them off, and they were like, hey, let's watch another movie. So we started watching, they got this, what is it, All the Hornsby Owls, Volume 2. I only have Volume 1. And we were watching the first film. It was a 40-minute long short film, boring as hell. We turned it off. Smart choice. We put on Beauty and the Beast from 1978. It is, what language was this? Like, oh my god, I can't even remember. Czechoslovakia. I've never seen a Czechoslovakian film. I think I technically had. There was like, I think it's that one about that planet, but it's a French film. But I guess it's also co-produced in Czechoslovakia. Either way, this is the first official Czechoslovakian film I've seen, and it was stunning. The production design is amazing. The haunting aspect to it. The beast looks fucking tremendous. Wonderful film. I gave it 4.5 stars. Definitely worth checking out. Especially if you have that All the Hornsby Owls Volume 2 set. Amazing. On the 4th, I watched Suspiria from 2018. Rewatched it, 5 stars, masterpiece, love it. Watched that new 4K from Imprint, did a review on it. Go check that out. It's somewhere on my channel. Then they had the Over the Garden Wall 10th anniversary tribute, which I watched on TikTok, and it was like, yikes. It was like this aspect ratio. I'm like, no. Luckily, it's like 2 minutes long, whatever, or 4 minutes, whatever. So I jumped onto the YouTube and rewatched it, and I'm like, man, this isn't stop motion. This is great. Love it. I only watched this the first time like 2 weeks earlier, and this is great. I love it. So that was really cute. On the 5th, I watched Caligula, the Ultimate Cut. Yes, I finally watched the Umbrella's 4K of the Ultimate Cut. I had no issues with it. I know that people have had issues with the audio, but because I think they've mislabeled it or something. I don't know. I don't care. I'd never seen it before. You had to log the Ultimate Cut as a separate release on Letterboxd because there's just a different listing for it, which is crazy. So they've got 2 different listings, one for the just main version and one for the Ultimate Cut. So I gave it 4 stars. It looks great. It sounds great. It was really interesting, surprisingly compelling. There's a great video essay on the Umbrella release by Jarrett Gahan talking about the different releases and the different versions. And it shows a lot of the footage from like the graphic deaths and violent stuff to the explicit porn. And I'm like, oh my god, thank god I didn't see that version the first time around. But hey, I've got all 5 versions, baby. I can see it. Cha-ching. Anyway, movies are great. On the 6th, I did a double feature of Death Valley, again from Imprint, which I gave 3 stars, and Superstition, which I gave 2 stars. I wasn't big on Superstition. I know a lot of people actually really like that film. And I'm like, it didn't land for me. I get the European influence on American horror cinema. It was just too slow. It didn't have the mood that I think Europeans do better than the Americans. Death Valley was fun. But again, I did videos on those already for the Blu-ray reviews. On the 7th, I did a quintuple. 1, 2, 3, 4. How much is 4 times a viewing experience? I watched Curse of the Blair Witch. Gave it 3.5 stars. Then I watched The Blair Witch Project. Gave it 4.5 stars. Then I watched The Burkittsville 7. Gave it 3 stars. And then I watched Shadow of the Blair Witch, which I gave 3 stars. And on the 8th, I watched Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2, which I gave 2 stars. Yeah, this was the imprint set, which I did my review of. The guy who actually re-edited Blair Witch 2 has commented on the video, actually, and I still have that copy. It's on my hard drive, so I might actually watch it. It was disappointing I didn't start with that. I'm like, what does it matter? Like, I bought this one. I just downloaded the other one. Is it pirating? Not really. It doesn't have an official release for the fan edit, but still, I have it, and I appreciate his comment. So, very nice. Anyway, I didn't care much for the second film. It's got a great concept, and the first half isn't bad. It just then is bad. Yeah, it is what it is. Then we have The Running Man on the 9th, which was the Cinemaniacs, which was wonderful. It was a very busy weekend of driving to my partner's place after doing the Blair Witch one and doing that whole video. I watched the film and the special features, filmed my video, edited, released it, drove to my partner's place, which was an hour away, stayed there the night, went to work in the morning because I had foot sore. Then I drove to Kew, which is like in between, so that was an extra 30 to 40 minute drive to do cricket for 4 hours, and then drove to the Astor in St Kilda to do this, which was The Running Man, which is great. Harness presentation, wonderful, great, no notes, 10 out of 10. Film, 4 stars, really enjoyed it. I wish it was the 4K scan, because my god, that's a stunning 4K. But it was still really fun. It was really fun with an audience because it's a really funny film, but the original concept sounds so much better, and I cannot wait for Edgar Wright's version. Anyway, on the 10th, because unfortunately people keep dying, thanks actors, I say that semi-ironically because it's just like, every time a big actor who I really like dies, I'm out. I'm busy, I'm doing stuff. Like Shelley Duvall passed away, and I was like, I can't watch a Shelley Duvall film. I'm not at home for like the next 3 days. So when I got home, I watched Three Women. And that was great. But this time it was Tony Todd who passed away, which is a very, very shocking to have heard. And so about 2 days after we found out, even though it was like 3 days after he'd actually passed on, I rewatched Candyman. I watched the Arrow video version, the R-rated cut instead of the unrated UK version, only because for the few extra seconds, at least the Arrow version, for the US version, the R-rated one was saying it was the 4K, and it looked a slight bit different. I'm pretty sure they were the same 4K scans, so I don't think it really mattered. I just didn't like that it didn't stipulate that the European version, the UK version, was a 4K. Either way, 4.5 stars. Beautiful film. It didn't connect with me properly the last time I watched it, but this time I was like, and I didn't watch it. I watched it in 2019 or something. This time I'm like, I get it now. The score is marvelous. The acting amazing. Tony Todd is so beautiful and creepy. The lead actress is so fucking good in it. Virginia Madsen, great. It's a tremendous film. It is so creepy. It is so beautiful. I love it. Really, really good film. On the 11th, I watched Creature with the Atom Brain, which I gave 3 stars. That was from the Arrow set, because I'd gotten that, because the next one's the werewolf one, which I still haven't watched yet, but that one needed a commentary on. Anyway, it was really fun. It had a good introduction by Kim Newman, which didn't really spoil the film, which was nice, but it gave a good pretense as to what exactly these films were aiming for. But then I watched the 2021 Candyman film, because I have the 4K, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I can see why it's very hit or miss, but I enjoyed it. I liked the vibe. I liked what they were going for, the whole idea that the Candyman can be multiple people. It nicely sequels the first one, but you can watch it without that, but also, because it's a sequel, it has too much reflection on the first one that it could have developed other areas more within its runtime, so I wasn't huge on those aspects to it, although I didn't mind it, and I did like the way they showed it through shadow puppets. That was really nice. Great visual style, really interesting, great slasher effect as well to the film, because, again, I know people were really expecting a great slasher film. I'm like, what? Did you not watch the first Candyman? Do people not understand movies? Anyway, so it was good. Ironically, my disc did stutter during the bathroom murder scene with all the teenage girls, which was hilarious to me. Turns out I hadn't cleaned the disc, even though it was brand fucking new. I hadn't even taken the disc out before. But, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. So either way, I cleaned it and it was fine. But, yeah, that was funny. Anyway, pretty good film. On the 12th, I watched The Antichrist, courtesy of Imprint, which I would have done a video on, but I'm like, I know there's some new special features on it, but I also don't have time to watch them. But also, it's the same 4K scan that Kino's done and everything, so at least I don't need the Kino one anymore. This Imprint one is probably a definitive version, despite Kino doing a new 4K UHD, but again, that's just an upscale. Not an upscale, it's a SDR version. I would highly recommend the Imprint version. It's amazing. Great special features as well. I gave it 4 stars because I'm like, man, this is... I know people kept saying that Exorcist ripoff, but I'm like, this has got class all to itself. The lead actor, fantastic. Has some great effects. Has some awful effects. But the effect and the vibe of it, really nice. I don't think it should have been called The Antichrist, but that's okay. On the 13th, the second sight version of Bloody Blair Witch came in. So I watched the Blair Witch documentary, which was 3 hours, 2.5 hours long. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's pretty typical, but I'm very happy that it catalogues the making of, from conception to filming to, you know, end result of the film, with some touch on Book of Shadows. No reference to the 2016 film, and no reference to the fact that the actors didn't get paid. Isn't that great? But the rest of it is really interesting. There's a lot of great detail talking about the film that I didn't know. It's a look of the people who worked at Haxum Films talking about it now, but also all this footage that they filmed in the late 90s. So I love that they just had all that footage. So that was great. So it was really interesting. I don't know, it's not the most revolutionary documentary. It's hard to rate documentaries, but I enjoyed it, so I think it's good. Great for a Blair Witch fan, definitely. And the Blair Witch Project I rewatched. I didn't give it a star rating this time, because I actually rewatched it with the new scan, which, oh my god, so much better than the old scan. But I watched it with the commentary by Alexandra Helen Nicholas, and was it Josh Nelson? Yes, Josh Nelson. Yeah. That was great. That was really interesting as well. There was parts where they touched on stuff that is mentioned in the documentary, but for the most part, really interesting documentary and also a commentary, and terrifying when the image goes completely black and all you can hear is just Josh talking. I'm like, this is really fucking freaky because you just don't know what's happening on the screen. I'd watched it a week earlier. I know what happened on the screen. They're just talking. It's nighttime and it's dark, but still. Then I watched The Hudsucker Proxy, which was on the Criterion channel. I gave it 4 stars. Never seen it before. I don't know, it's just part of the Coen Brothers line. I was like, I gotta watch the Criterion stuff before my subscription renews because I gotta make sure I'm paying $18 on something that's fucking worth it. And yeah, it was really good. I thought it was really humorous, great production design, interesting story. What's her face that's so amazing in the film? Jennifer Jason Leigh, I really like in the film. I gotta watch more of her 90s stuff. It's really funny looking at the reviews on Letterboxd for it now and saying, like, man, Jennifer Jason Leigh's great. Let's look at her current thoughts on, like, Twitter. And I'm like, why would you do that? Clearly, she's not going to have takes that most people are going to have a agreement with. So I'm like, just don't do it, you know? Just don't do it. So I didn't do it. So I don't know what they're talking about saying that she's said stupid shit, because I'm like, I don't know. I didn't look it up. That's on you, my guy. But I followed it up with A Serious Man, which I was going to do first, but then I was like, Serious Man's kind of like a black comedy drama, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not in the mood for that right now. But I watched it. I think it's better than Hudsucker Proxy. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a really interesting film for how it develops, especially because it dives into a culture that I'm not hugely, like, knowledgeable. I'm not Jewish, so I'm not very knowledgeable in that area. Like, I know the basic stuff for the most part, but it's really interesting. The character study is amazing, though. Oh my god, the final, like, 15 minutes is so fucking crazy. It's, like, simplistic as hell, but it's, like, it's so good. It has a fantastic ending, and I really loved it. I thought it was amazing. I actually watched the trailer after it because I knew that there was a part in the trailer that kind of a mild, not exactly a spoiler for the film itself, even though there is footage in that trailer that should not have been in that trailer. The way they edit the trailer with the guy's head getting knocked against the wall. Great execution for a trailer. So I was like, I mean, I'd already seen the film, but I'm happy I watched it in the reverse order, because I didn't need the temptation. I was already going to watch it. So watching the trailer after watching it was great. So definitely worth doing the same thing. On the 16th, I watched Gladiator for the second or third time. I don't know, I've seen it. I used to watch it in my youth. I can't remember anything about the film. So I figured, look, the second one's coming out. Let's rewatch the theatrical cut on 4K. And you know what? Fucking beautiful film. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was like solid, good first half, but in the second half, I'm like, man, this shit is great. This is cinema. I don't know. I really like Ridley Scott's films. Who would have thought? Yeah. I liked it a lot. I still need to watch Gladiator 2. I know Dad and I want to watch it. I think we're going to wait for our brother to get back from the overseas trip. He gets back by the time this video comes out, he's going to be home. It doesn't really matter. But, you know, plan to watch it with him because he likes the first Gladiator. So, should be fun. On the 17th, yeah, shit, I guess I was doing more of those noirs. I watched Double Indemnity. Rewatched this one, the 4K. I spent most of my weekend outside of filming one game and then coming back here and watching Gladiator at night. The rest of the time I spent working on the shelf behind me and working on the shelf over there. Which, if my video talking about the big $700 haul has already come out, yeah, I obviously have to put all those on the shelf now, but the rest of it looks beautiful. It's perfect. It's all finished, and now I got to do it all over again. Wonderful. But Double Indemnity was great. I don't know why I talked about that other stuff. I just worked so long on all those stuff. But Double Indemnity was a beautiful 4K from Criterion. Looks amazing. I hadn't seen it since university, so I don't actually remember when I watched it. I think it was 2017. Maybe 2018. I know Ben's logged it in that period, so I'm like, maybe we were in the same class watching it. I can't remember. Either way, great. It was nice to rewatch it. Very fun. Very interesting film. You know, Billy Wilder, he's great. And Noirs. It's like, you watch all these great noirs and you're like, yeah, Noirs are a good genre. And then you look at the bad ones and you're like, man, Noir can be pretty shit. But this is a great one. Good noir. I also watched the Shadows of Suspense kind of 30, 40-minute long documentary, which is basically just a bunch of film historians in the mid-2000s. This is 2006, reflecting on the film. Really funny to see a young Kim Newman in that. Holy shit. But yeah, so, nicely informative, regular, kind of video that you can probably find on YouTube or whatever. On the 18th, I watched... I think I started watching it on the 17th. No, I didn't. I watched it at work and then went home and finished it. Half-Life 2 20th Anniversary Documentary. I'm counting this as a film that I've watched because it's 2 hours long and it's a documentary. I'd also watched the one from the first Half-Life last year, but I didn't log it on my letterbox for some goddamn reason. I think I did, but it was deleted and then re-uploaded, so I haven't since. I've logged it since, but I don't know when the hell I watched it. I imagine around the same time, the 18th of goddamn November, because that's when it came out last year. I remember watching it last year because I'd never really played the game, but I still watched the documentary. At least for Half-Life 2, I've played the games. I love the Half-Life games. I love Portal, all those Valve games post-2004. Love them. So this was great. Really interesting. I loved seeing them talk about the characters, how they found their actors and stuff. There was so much great stuff. It was interesting when they were talking about the Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3 stuff and saying how they basically didn't do it because of technological revolution. They weren't there yet with the technology, and so hence the next Half-Life game was Alex, the VR game, which I have not played because I don't play VR, nor have I really watched anyone play it because I don't play VR. I've seen someone play the end of it because I wanted to at least know what the story was, how it connected to Half-Life 2 Episode 2. It would be nice if they continue it to some way with new tech, but I'd have to watch someone play a Let's Play it because I'm never going to play that game. I won't have the PC capable of doing it, which sucks because I really like the first couple of games. I double featured that with Kiss Me Deadly, a Criterion that I did for Noirvember, much like the Bogart one and Double Indemnity. Gave this one 4.5 stars as well. It's a really solid film, really interesting mystery that develops really crazily as the runtime goes, but the last 20 minutes is fucking mental. Once they reveal, what this was all about, you're like, where did that come from? I didn't know going into it, a lot of people didn't know. They have a specific name, close your ears if you haven't seen it, Atomic, and it's okay, if I had known that, I would have been like, okay, how's this but I wouldn't have remembered, because you get that far into the movie, you don't remember that, and then bam, it's like, oh my god, and you kind of realize immediately, oh my god, great, amazing. The final scene is so amazing. I can see how it influenced David Lynch. It's very Lost Highway, one particular scene in Lost Highway, so, worth checking out. That Criterion's pretty good. I also watched a behind the scenes video talking about the film, I think, but it wasn't logged on Letterboxd, but it was good. On the 19th, I watched Dogs, the Scorpion releasing DVD, because my friends had a copy. I'm like, great, because Lee worked on that. He did a liner notes thingy, which is notes on the inside of the DVD case. Anyway, I gave it 4 stars. Fucking good. Terrifically, terrifying domestic dogs just attacking people because they get into packs and they will just go crazy. Amazingly brutal effects, a lot of great blood and gore. It kind of fits the bill of a TV movie, but it also doesn't really feel like a TV movie because of the blood work, and the pessimistic ending, which I loved. The final shot, 10 out of 10. 4 stars for the movie. Yeah, and the characters were interesting. It was that classic thing of, wow, these characters just happen to be studying exactly what's happening. Who'd have thought? I love it. I love when they do that. They're just like, fuck it. Here's this subtext that we're going to bring in by just talking about something that's happening out over there. We're not going to dwell on it because subtext. It's the reason it's happening, but we're not going to dwell on it. And it's just so classic eco-horror. I dig it. Really, really fun. But then I went to Acme to see, for the Melbourne Queer Film Festival, they had a screening of Can't Stop the Music, which I gave 3.5 stars. It's a very bizarre film. It's not great. I wouldn't even really say it's a 3.5 star film, but the experience really helped because visually fucking dazzling. Really interesting because of how stupid it is, which is what makes it great. It's this idealized version of the 80s of the 80s is going to be this, it's going to be that, and then that just didn't happen because, Reagan and AIDS, so, who'd have thought. Obviously not them at the time. And yeah, it was great with a crowd because we could all laugh at how stupid some of it was, but also some of the one-liners, some of the obvious innuendos. Holy shit! The fact that the YMCA sequence has just guys with their dicks out. The main girl's tits are there. It's just like, what is happening? The last act falters crazily, but the last musical number is quite spectacular. The milkshake one, the fact that they were able to wiggle that into the movie and how they did it is hilarious. Some fantastic jokes. Bruce Jenner is in it, Caitlyn Jenner now, but don't like that person anyway. Not for them being trans, but just because they're a bad person. Who'd have thought a transphobe becomes trans? Who'd have thought? Anyway, fucking... That's what it is. He's very stupid in the movie. Bad character, but does some funny shit, like when he gets robbed by an old lady. That was very funny. But yeah, so it was a great experience. It was a tribute screening to Lee Gambon because he was a big part of the queer community, and he was a huge advocate for that and for film, and especially this film. He did a commentary track, so I can now listen to that, which is great. But yeah, so that was really nice. So that's all so far. What else have I watched? I don't know. Let's find out. Next up, we have on the 20th, I watched Thinner. Gave it 3.5 stars. Fun, actually. I watched it because I'd gotten in that, big $750 Blu-ray haul, and it was the only one that looked like it had a scratched disc, so I figured I'm going to watch it. So I watched it. It was fine, ran perfectly, good, no issues. Really fun, actually. Surprisingly, it's, I don't know, there's some of these Stephen King adaptations I actually really like, despite popular consensus kind of being a bit of a negative sway. Take Sleepwalkers, which I loved a lot more than this, but I really enjoyed what this was going for. It's one of those things where it's like each act is so vastly different as a narrative that it just feels bizarre, but it feels like Stephen King on coke, where it's just like random shit happens and eventually it ends. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Got some interesting effects. Pretty funny. Then you get the 21st, we watched Scary Movie 4. I don't know, I just felt like it. I was really tired that day, I think. I can't remember. So I was like, yeah, sure, Scary Movie 4, I'll watch it, give it a hoot and a holler. I gave it 3.5 stars. This is the old DVD I've had since it first came out. Yeah, no, I've got nothing really critical to say about it. I still prefer it to the first two films, but it's definitely... As much as I think the narrative is stronger than the third film, I do think that the comedy isn't as strong. But I like the Saw references. That's fun, despite this being, 2006? So, Saw had already come out a couple of years earlier, so that's kind of crazy that they're only now spoofing Saw. But I don't care. I'll take it. It's also gone down the J-horror route, just like how the previous one was Ringu. Now it's Ju-on the Grudge. And I like it. There are some great iconic scenes. There's also the War of the Worlds ripoff. So, I like the stuff that it's spoofing. I always understood what it was spoofing, even though I never watched Ju-on until, 2 or 3 years ago. But, it's funny. I enjoy it. It's not the best of them, but it's far from the worst. So then we have, on the 22nd, I double featured 2 Australian classics. Tell me if you've heard these ones before. Body Melt from 1993, gave it 3.5 stars. Strange narrative choices. It feels like a bunch of short stories because it basically was 4 different short stories put together with one overarching thing, and it's very gory. Not insanely gory, but fun gore. It's good. It was a very interesting film that I've had on Blu-ray for far too long, and now I finally watched it. I've had it since 2018, I think, maybe 2019. Still with the slipcover and everything from Umbrella, it looked great. And yeah, finally watched it. So good for me. I'm happy. There we go. 10 out of 10. On the 22nd, so I followed that up immediately with The Chain Reaction from 1980, which when my dad came in and was asking me what the hell I was watching, I was describing it. He's like, oh, this is the China Syndrome. I'm like, no, it's The Chain Reaction. He's like, but that's exactly what happens in the China Syndrome. I'm like, yeah, the Jane Fonda one. And he's like, yeah, this has got Jane Fonda in it, right? I'm like, no, this has got the guy from Mad Max. This has got the guy who plays Toe Cutter. So this is the Mad Max version of the Australian version of China Syndrome. So I haven't seen China Syndrome yet. I apparently really need to. And I've got a DVD 3-pack that's Jane Fonda, so I will probably watch it through that. Hooray! Anyway, yeah, Chain Reaction was good. I enjoyed it. Interesting film. A lot of road stuff, which is kind of crazy. A bit depressing. So, I don't know. It is what it is. Nuclear stuff. On the 23rd, I only had enough time to watch one film, which is a lie. I had plenty of time to watch many, but I was editing. I watched Night Owls episode 335. It's that. It's actually, Late Night with the Devil. I bought the Umbrella release because it was on sale. It was like $18. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? It's out of print on the website, even though they've got their special deluxe editions available. I'm like, I don't need the booklets and stuff as much as it'd be cute. I only want it for this, which is the alternate cut, which is 70 minutes rather than 93, cuts out all of the prologue and epilogue stuff and all the in-between, like when the commercials happen, they cut to on-set stuff. Doesn't have any of that. It's just a TV show, and it's great until it's not. This is one I give 4 stars, same as the first time I watched the original version, the theatrical version. I don't know if it's better. It feels better, because I kind of prefer that this one doesn't do the cutaways. All the stuff that's in the cutaways is still very much present in what they're talking about. The only thing that they don't specify on the actual TV show part is one of the characters dies off screen, and they don't mention it, but at one stage they mention that he's sick and you can hear an ambulance. That's it. So there's the implication is there that he's sick and might die, but obviously in the theatrical version there was the hard cut, oh, he died, don't tell anyone. The only issue I'd say with this version, which is why it's not perfect for me, is that it still doesn't stick to the formula. It's gone for the whole 4:3 thing. It still has where the ad breaks are. It has the rainbow-coloured screen with the loud, high-pitchy noise. Occasionally gets more possessed as it goes. You get some flickers of images and stuff, just I guess for demonic funness. Why not? It's a bit cheesy, but it still works. But the spoilers if you haven't seen the film, the ending of it, where it goes in that really theatrical kind of, setup, is still in this version in the last 10 minutes. There's only like 2 minutes of it where it's in the wrong aspect ratio, where it's 4:3, so black bars on the top, on the sides. But it's also now in like 235 to 1 or whatever, where it's like got the black bars on the top and bottom, so the cinematic ratio, but in a square. So this would look great on a CRT, on a small TV that's in that 4:3 aspect ratio, but you're watching it on a big fucking 65-inch OLED, and it's just a small box inside, a small rectangle inside a bigger black rectangle. And it's like, they didn't need to do that. They should have had a workaround to make that work better, but outside of that, it still works nicely. It probably just didn't need that extra little dream sequency part. If anything, if this is what actually happened in the broadcast, you shouldn't see any of that. That should be cut out, realistically, Instead it should be, I don't know, just cutting to the end, maybe, ignoring a lot of the dream sequency stuff, maybe having it as weird visuals, but if it's in the guy's head, how is it on TV? It just bites itself in the ass a little bit. Anyway, on the 24th, I rewatched Transformers from 2007. I gave it 3 stars. It's not a great film. It's really long, and I had spent most of my day driving to Ballarat and back, which was about hour and a half plus 2 hours, 3.5 hours of driving, and then an hour and a half game of basketball, which I was on the court filming the whole time, which is crazy. Usually I'm on a tripod. So I was really tired and wanted to watch something stupid, so I watched Transformers, and it was long and stupid, and it's fine. Again, I had bought that set, I'm like, I gotta start watching these fucking movies again, so yeah, might as well start from the start. And there's some interesting concepts in it. Again, Megan Fox's character is really interesting. She's put the poor use, but at least she's like smart and does something. She knows how to work cars. That's about it. Sam Witwicky, worst character in human history. Absolutely despise him. Hate the fact that I have to deal with 2 more films of that guy. And that means I have to rewatch Revenge of the Fallen, and that film fucking sucks. So yeah. There are so many side characters in this film, it is stupid how many side characters there are. It's clearly a film that if they had have been smarter, which they weren't going to be, they were going to be lowest common denominator, find the one person, straight white, middle, young teenage guy. Because that's what everyone is. Everyone relates to that guy. Saying someone who did relate to that guy, I know how pretentious that sounds. But, It's like there's no real, I don't know, diversity to it to a degree. Like the best characters are like the hackers, and they're in it for like 20 minutes. The military, I really like in the film. I think they have an interesting arc. Guess what? They're butt out of the film because we got to focus on Shia LaBeouf. And then when the military do come back, it's military propaganda. So it's like, wow, this movie's really weird. It's about robots that turn into fucking cars. Anyway, we all know what Transformers is. On the 25th, I did another double feature, which is actually a Dino De Laurentiis double feature. Who'd have thought? I watched Silver Bullet from Umbrella because my mate Lee had done a interview on it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Pretty fun. Yeah, interesting version. I've ordered the 4K, even though it doesn't come with the actual thing that Lee worked on, which sucked. Everything else was already there. Carbon copied all the way over, including a whole new commentary with Scott Wampler, which I really want to listen to, and of course the Dolby Vision and all that 4K stuff that I really want to look at, because apparently it looks fantastic. So I'm really keen for that, but it doesn't come with the interview with Martha De Laurentiis. It comes with a commentary instead, and I hate that. I wish it had ported that over, because then the $30 I'm spending on this at least would be more worth it, because I wouldn't have to then fork out another $50 for an out-of-print Australian Blu-ray for the Umbrella one. Ugh, so annoying. Anyway, I know I could have just bought the Umbrella one instead, but I'm like, I still want to get the better transfer. It looks fantastic on the 4K, apparently, so... And I want that commentary, and there's a new commentary with Martha De Laurentiis, so there's, like, more stuff to it that I really want, so... but yeah, I double featured that with Amityville 2: The Possession. Again, another De Laurentiis, which was from the Viavision set, which is from the Scream Factory transfers. Who'd have thought it? Really nice, actually, despite, again, some visual stuff being a bit icky on the transfer. Really fun film. Gave it 3.5 stars. I don't like the first film. I gave that 2 stars when I watched it a couple of years back, and it was just like, actually I think that was maybe last year with my brother, and we were just like, this movie's boring as shit. And it is. The first Amityville is overrated. It is so boring. But the second one is like, hey, what if by the 20-minute mark, shit's possessed already? And I'm like, this is great. Get an Italian director, crazy effects, a good cast. It's great. Having Britannia Alder on the screen, I'm like, oh shit, that's the woman who's in all those commentaries I have. Oh my god, she's also in a bunch of other movies like fucking Rocky 2, who'd have thought? I don't know, but still, wonderful. I've seen her in a bunch of movies and I hadn't even noticed. So now I know. I've got a name to a face to a name. But it was fun. I definitely recommend Amityville 2: The Possession. It sounds stupid, but it's a really fun film. It's got some great effects. It's just bizarre. It's actually a really fun Exorcist ripoff when you think about it. So, yeah, I like it. I really liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I still really liked it. Another 3.5 stars, we got Pin from 1988, which was one that I borrowed the Arrow Video DVD, Arrowdrome, from my friends. Because, again, Lee did the essay that he wrote in the booklet, so I was like, I gotta watch this so I can give it back to Phil and Katie. And it was really interesting. A lot of people loved it a lot more than I did, which is fair. It's not exactly what I expected. It's definitely not what I expected. It's a psychological horror film about a guy who thinks that this mannequin, human-sized doll that's basically like a fleshy thing, just like a person without flesh, just the muscles and some eyeballs, and it can talk. And I didn't realize at the start that the dad was doing the ventriloquism for it. So I'm thinking, how the fuck is this thing talking? Is it like a robot? And then the kid starts talking, and I'm like, okay, that seems normal. The guy's fucking paranoid, schizophrenic. It's not normal. He's doing the ventriloquism for it, and he doesn't even realize, and the sister's like, how the hell are you doing that? And that's when I realized, oh, shit, I'm missing something here. And yeah, it's really interesting, though. It shows them as they grow over a 15-year period, showing some really interesting conversations. Terry O'Quinn is in it. He's great. The woman who plays the sister is really interesting. The guy who, oh my god, the guy who plays the kid. Let me detail some cast for you. David Hewlett, great. Cynthia Preston was great. Terry O'Quinn was great. Jonathan Banks, the guy from Breaking Bad, Mike, is the voice of Pin. You wouldn't recognize it, but it's him, and it's crazy. So worth finding a copy if you can. It is crazy. On the 27th, because Jim Abrahams passed away, I was like, I gotta watch some films to commemorate him. But I didn't want to rewatch Airplane or Top Secret or Naked Gun Trilogy, despite the fact that I love those films and I've seen them countless times. All except for Top Secret. I've only watched that 3 times because I've been watching it since I got Letterboxd. The other ones, countless. I grew up on the other ones. So I watched Hot Shots and Hot Shots 2. Hot Shots I gave 3 stars. Hot Shots 2 I gave 4 stars. They're both on Disney Plus, so I made it easy to watch them. I hadn't seen them before. I didn't care for Hot Shots because it's a spoof of Top Gun, and I don't like Top Gun that much, so it didn't interest me. There are some fun gags, but the story and the characters was just like, Like, I don't know, if you're doing a spoof of Top Gun and airplane movies, which there aren't many to spoof, what else are you really going to do? Like, they're not amping up the, like, homosexual elements, the subtext, if you will, for the original Top Gun. So I'm like, okay, if they're not doing that, what are they really going for outside of, wow, look, we're on a boat. Oh no, I fell off the boat, and that's the joke. So yeah. But Hot Shots 2, I really liked. I thought it was really funny. I loved how it was just a rip-off of the Rambo films, which was great, like the ones where they go to Afghanistan and shit. It is really funny. It's constantly funny with its referencing, but also just the fact that even in its story, it can make like comedic stuff from just characters talking and some slapstick stuff in there. It's got a great cast. Miguel Ferrer is in it. Lloyd Bridges, who's in both, is much better in this one. Same as Charlie Sheen, much better in this one. The love interest, much better in this one. All of them are so much better in the second film than they are in the first one. The second one has the whole, like, Apocalypse Now spoof, which then becomes it's like Charlie Sheen's character is, you know, you can hear him narrating what he's writing in his diary, and then suddenly you're hearing a different person's voice, and he looks up because he's confused, like he can hear someone else's narration, and it sounds like Apocalypse Now, because lo and behold, there's Martin Sheen on a different boat coming the other way, and they both get up, and are like, oh my god, I loved you in Wall Street. And I'm like, this is, wow, what a bit. Just to get him in for one scene where they spoof fucking that. Oh, hilarious. Loved it. What else did I watch this month? And to kick off the end of the month, what the hell happened to my hair? Oh my god. There we go. Like to crack that neck of mine. Anyway, so I've had Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part Dukes. On the 28th, I did a double feature of I Walked with a Zombie and The Seventh Victim. I Walked with a Zombie from 1943. I gave it... Okay, this is going to be disappointing here. I gave it 3 stars. I'm not happy with my review of it. I will be revisiting it in a month or so. Mostly because I've lent it to Phil and Caitlin because they would love to watch them. But it's just, I don't know. I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know. It's just, I wasn't there for it for some reason. It was a good night to watch it, you know. It was a good, no one around kind of. I think my brother was out with his girlfriend for the night. I was like, great, I'll just watch this double feature of horror films, whatever. And I was just like, yeah, it's alright, I guess. Like, it's iconic visually, it has a great score, it has some interesting acting, it's an interesting story. Everything about it is interesting. It just didn't click for me as being great. And I feel disappointed by that because everyone I follow has basically given this like 4 to 5 stars, and I'm like, man, did I miss something? You know, it's one of those things of, do I have to be honest with myself that maybe I just didn't like it that much? I thought it was fine. I mean, I've still followed some people who gave it like 3 and 3.5 stars, but most people gave it between 4 to 5, and I'm like, yeah, alright. Like, I get it. It still is a very interesting film. Like, I like its exploration of, like, slavery and voodoo mixing with, like, white culture, realistically, and how they kind of impose their own values to control a populace and everything. It's a really interesting film. I think that's, like, the more fundamentally interesting element about it. Like, the horror isn't exactly the voodoo or the hypnotism or is she a zombie, is she not? It's slavery. That's the horror of the film, realistically. It's what white oppression did to people. So for that reason, I think it is actually a really fantastic film. It's just that I just didn't click with what I was watching. For a 17-minute film, it just didn't click with me. So, I don't know. That's why I'm not happy with the 3-star rating. I'm like, I know I'm going to watch this again. And like, even in my review, I said, I'm definitely going to be watching this again because I know that I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. And that's always such a concern, especially with a video like this where it's got a permanent online. It's like, oh, but you gave I Walked with a Zombie 3 stars. How can I find any of your, opinions on horror films credible? Because I was fucking tired? I don't know. I wasn't in the mood for it. Well, if you're not in the mood, turn it off. How do you know? Sometimes the movie clicks with you in the last 10 minutes. It's like, man, oh my god, that whole 70 minutes was worth it. Because I'm like, this is amazing. I can't believe, oh my god. And like, it's like turning off a Serious Man because you don't like it within the first 20 minutes. It's like, it just, you got to sit with it, you know? So, I'll get back to it. We'll see how it goes. Ironically, I actually like The Seventh Victim a lot more. I gave that 3.5 stars. I still almost dozed off in the last 10 minutes, which I find hilarious. But again, it's been a long month. November sucks now because of the Black Friday becomes a month, and it just is hell. It's just pure hell. So yes, that was Indigo. Yeah, I like The Seventh Victim. To be fair, both of these had great transfers and restorations, and I got the standard 4K, the standard Blu-ray, which is the 4K scans instead of the 4K UHD, because I didn't really think I needed a UHD for them. Probably could have worked, but it was like $15 cheaper than not get the UHD, and I can lend them to friends. Hey, how goes it? But no, I like The Seventh Victim more. I found it a bit more compelling. Again, it wasn't as visually iconic to me or anything. Like, it felt more like, oh, we're inside building sets and stuff like that. There's no, like, layering of, like, social subtext and stuff like that. Instead, it's just a proto version of Rosemary's Baby that has a bit of Psycho influence as well, which is ironic because it came out a long time before both of these movies. It has a whole scene that's basically being ripped off in Psycho, and it did it 17 years before Psycho, and I'm like, that's amazing. So definitely worth checking out, these two. I would highly recommend them. I probably maybe should have watched them on the Criterion channel first, but still, it was $35 for the set. I was pretty happy with that. And last but not least, I finished the month off with TerrorVision, which I gave 3 stars. You know, now looking at it, I feel like Walk with a Zombie. I'm going to give I Walk with a Zombie 3.5 stars. I can change my review. 3 stars for me is like it's okay. It's good, but it's not amazing. But it's like, it's enjoyable, like a good all rounder kind of film. Okay, I've changed it. I've changed I Walked the Zombie to 3.5 because I feel like that's more appropriate. Because looking at TerrorVision, I'm like, I don't know, I gave TerrorVision 3 stars, and that definitely is, like, not really a 3-star film. It's mostly a 2-star film with an extra star of, like, oh my god, these effects are amazing. It's just that the film is a little bit boring in the middle because it becomes a bit too repetitive. It's funny, I get the satire, I get the approach it's going for, I get what it's making fun of, the characters are fun, they're all cartoonish, and I really like that about it. It was a very colourful, poppy film, it looked great. But it's just like, it got to the point where it was setting up things like, oh, the monster can talk, and there's the police are coming, and then nothing really comes of it. You know, like the police guy arrives and then he gets eaten. The monster talks and then nothing else happens. It's just, yeah, like it kind of fumbled itself. It still landed the ending. I think the last scene is great. I think it really paid that off quite well. But yeah, and again, amazing effects. John Harrison did the presentation for it, which was spot on, terrific. Of course, I won, which you'll see in a week from my mail video. The Full Moon Fright Box set. I actually won that at the Cinemaniacs. That was wonderful. But yeah, again, I enjoyed TerrorVision. I thought it was fun. But yeah, so I've retconned it. I Walked with a Zombie 3.5 stars. It's definitely a 4 to 4.5 star film, realistically. But I gotta let that flow with me. I can't just be like, yeah, it has good talking points and whatever, but sometimes I need to enjoy what the actual film is, like when I'm watching it. You know, I can appreciate its subtext and what it's talking about, its approach to horror, its approach to character, its approach to so many different aspects, but sometimes I just might not be in the mood for the movie. Like, it just might not click with me, even if I'm like, I'm actively wanting to watch this movie, I've been waiting all day to watch it, here we go, and I'm like, yeah, it's alright, I guess, you know, but yeah. That's cinema, baby. Anyway, see you guys next month, actually, next year, because this is the last of what I watched for the year, because the next one will be December, and that'll be come out in January, so I wonder how many Christmas films I'll watch. Obviously, I failed the Noir-vember, so I gotta update my reviews to get rid of the Noir-vember stuff. Anyway, bye for now. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.